We are live.
We are live. Bosh. So, hello everyone. It's been a while. It's probably been a couple of months, has it been, lads, since we did one of these?
Yeah,
Yeah,
about.
2 months. Yeah.
Been a while.
Been a while, but we're back and we're going to be better than ever because who wants to explain what we did yesterday, gentlemen? Which one of you fine young men would like to explain?
Well, we went on the drink. I think we ended up with strippers. Went to see the football. No, we met up and it was a bit of a powwow. What we're going to be doing together, how we're going to take the Triple Crown industry chat on a bit further. We're talking podcasts, we're talking film deals, we're talking you name it. So it was great. And what was really good, and Jerry said, and I didn't realise this, that was the first time that Jerry and Paul had actually even met each other.
Yeah.
How mad was that, Paul? Didn't you? It's like, this is the power of technology, though, isn't it? You can meet someone in the flesh, but you feel like you know them. You know, like you just feel, and you just go into a conversation like, yeah, you know. Yeah. But I do think, even though you travelled, 2.5 hours down from Darlow, and I travelled 2.5 hours up from Brighton, Paul just basically walked there. She's just down the road. But to meet up in person, I think that's something that for people listening, don't forget how important it is just to make that little bit more effort to go, you know what? Let's not have a phone call. Let me take you for a coffee. You know, like whether it's landlords or colleagues or even sort of suppliers or friendly rivals. Do you know what I mean? It's so important. So important. So I thought it was a good good day. But what was that restaurant we ate in? Because I wouldn't recommend that one to anyone. Food weren't bad, but the service, Jesus Christ Almighty!
It was literally the restaurant at St Pancras.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it was something like that. It was connected to the St Pancras train station.
Yeah, all substance, all style, no substance.
Definitely. I mean, your burger was. This was a perfect example. We were talking about customer experience and customer service, and that was the perfect example where they could have pulled it out the bag, because they basically brought Paul and my dinner, and they brought Jerry a dinner. It just happened to not be the dinner he ordered. So instead of going, I'm so sorry, and blah, 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 he just took it away and he went, I'll get you right order. And then went away. In the meantime, there's no, I'm really sorry. Would you like a complimentary drink? This and this and this. Me and Paul ate our dinners and stuff. And it was towards the end. That's when they brought the correct one. And it wasn't even a big apology. It was just like, oh, sorry. And then chucked it down.
Yeah. It's those small things. I recently came back from holiday and we were on a cruise, and the actual little things, just people knowing your name, just asking how your day was, being really interested, just made the holiday. So those little things, like you said, make such a difference.
Yeah, awesome. 100%. And none of us will be going back there, will we? Let's be honest.
Probably not.
I'm definitely not. I worked out how far Nando's is around the corner. I'm definitely not going there. But anyway, right, we have a little bit of a structure we're testing on. We're sharing with the good people of estate agency land this week. So, first of all, I think we've got to just say, apart from our little meeting, how's been the past 2 months since we've caught up? How's that been for you, Paul and John, respectively?
You go first, Matt.
Yeah, so I was quite lucky. As I say, I just come back from holiday, so I had a bit of a break, which was very nice to have a bit of family time and spend a bit of time slowing things down. And learned a lot, though. As I say, really opens your eyes up. And I think speaking to you, John, yesterday, you made a really good point about looking at other industries, what they're doing, and not always looking at what our industry is doing. So just going away just opened up my eyes that it's just very simple. Those small things just make such big differences. And I think in our industry, maybe a lot of the time you're looking at your competitors or looking at other agents, but really, do you want to be doing what everyone else is doing? Perhaps looking at what else is out there. So that was a bit of an eye opener, just looking at the things they did and sort of the service that they provided. And then just dealing with a lot of new agents, working with a lot of new agents, some fantastic agents, seeing what agents are doing at the moment. There's some agents that are working so hard at the moment. So hopefully we can talk about that a little bit more on this chat.
JP?
Yeah, went away with Gemma. So we went away for a week. That was great. I think we were only back probably about 4 or 5 days, and then we took the kids to Edinburgh. speaking of customer service, that was absolutely phenomenal. So we stopped in somewhere called Cheval Chambers up in Edinburgh on the Royal Mile. Just serviced apartments, really. It's next to a restaurant, so you can go eat there and whatnot. And it's the second time we've been there. And we went in, and because you're not allowed to park outside, so I'd go down to the train station, Waverley train station, so I dropped the bags off, made sure Gemma and the kids got in. And I came back, and there they were with like drinks, and the kids had cookies, and Gemma was saying they knew our names as we walked in, and the bags were already taken off them and putting up, because we got there about 2 hours before we were allowed to check in. And they said, don't worry, we're going to text you when you can check in. We've pulled people off other things. You're on there. Couldn't do enough for us. Got there, basket. It was brilliant. Every time we went out, they knew our names. It was superb. And then as we left, they, can we get you a paper? I believe you like this sort of paper. So they knew everything. And as we were leaving, they said, do you enjoy it? We're going to give you I'll tell you what they also did is we got there and they upgraded us. They said, would you like a free complimentary upgrade to a suite? So we went for like a little 1-bedroom thing where me and Gemma had the bedroom, the kids had the sofa bed, just like, because they're at that age. And we were like, yeah, great. And they said, can we upgrade you to a 2-bedroom suite free of charge? Like, fantastic.
Think how clever that is, right? Just from, if that suite's going spare, they know it's going spare.
Yeah.
It's a master, it's really clever move, isn't it? Because it's like, you know what, we're going to really elevate these guys' experience, so they do things like what you're doing now.
Yeah,
sharing that experience.
I think I posted in the group a couple of weeks ago, probably about a month ago, about it, and I had 3 people contact me like within a couple of hours saying, "I'm going up to Edinburgh in the next 2-3 months. Where was it?" So there's a couple of bookings, and on the way out, they said, "Oh, we'll take your cases out to your car." I says, "Oh, don't worry, it's miles away at the train station. I'm going to bring it around. Don't you worry, Mr. Paul, we'll bring them out." So that was another thing. And then they offered, can we give you 15% off your next stay with us?
See, clever. Very well business.
How many times do they offer complimentary upgrades? Where you go, they never do. It's very, very rare. You've got to ask for it. And then they offered me for a third trip back. It was brilliant. And then now I'm talking here to use 3 and the 2.5 people listening.
Yeah. 1.5.
Have you been, Jerry?
I've been, because I'm the poor cousin, the council house kid amongst these 2 powerhouses. I haven't been away. Did treat myself to a Brighton hospitality table. So no, we have been away. Been good. Business really good. Everyone's happy, and I'm looking forward to. We're going to watch all the England games at the Women's Euros because my little girl's in it. So we're going up to Manchester a couple of weeks' time. Brighton, Southampton, Wembley. So that'll be really looking forward to that. Actually,
how many games are you going to be watching?
We booked 6. So if England got to the final at Wembley on July the 30th, we'd be going to 6 games. But they do well to get to the final.
I was going to say, are they any good, England women?
They're good. They've got a chance, but Holland are good. France are good. You know what it's like with girls and women's football. It's a bit like there's agency parallels here as well. When you invest into something and you really commit, the big teams, the big clubs, a lot of the Premier League clubs have invested a lot of money into girls' football. So they're getting in girls, and then they can go up a pyramid. And Charlotte trains with Brighton girls now, so she's got access to better coaching. And it's like from an agency point of view. And me and you had this chat last week, Johnny. And I mean, I said to you, realise I haven't really invested in my business properly. Did you know what I mean, Paul, as well? It's like, we've done really well, but it's we haven't put money back in. So investment. Yeah, investment. But right, we have got some, what are we on to the topics part, the trending topics part? Mm-hmm. Are we going to do that bit first, or are we going to do the bits about our main, not gripes, that's wrong, our main focus? So, Paul, you're very well planned because you were very well prepared yesterday. I must say, I was very impressed.
Very well.
It's amazing what you can do on your phone on the train, isn't it? So just really if we just bring some updates for everyone on social media and state agency, what's going on at the moment, things you need to know. So one of the things that I'm getting asked at the moment is short form videos. It's something that agents need to be doing, and is there a reason why? So obviously there's a lot of talk about TikTok style videos, and a lot of agents feel very uncomfortable doing that style of video. And the good news is you don't actually have to dance around, make yourself look stupid unless you want to. But the demand is huge now for short form video. So 60 seconds, not 90 seconds. So recently, Reels, which is the main short form video now on sort of the Meta platform, Facebook and Instagram, that's now been increased to 90 seconds. And there's been stats that have come out to say that the most engagement and most growth has been on short form video on all those platforms. So the advice at the moment is look at the content you're creating, and now you've got to be creating that short form video. And the great news is that's the stuff that's getting the most exposure. So Instagram and Facebook are really pushing this content to, of course, compete with TikTok. And if you're going to put content out on those platforms with short videos, you're going to really benefit from lots of exposure. So hundreds and thousands of people seeing that content for free. So yeah, it was really just to make sure that agents are aware that that's sort of content that you should be doing. Reels on Instagram is definitely the place to start it. Share it onto Facebook. So you'll note that now that you've got Reels on Facebook and Instagram, and Instagram gives you that ability to share it, on that platform and elsewhere. And
this is Meta's counter move to TikTok, is it? Yeah. So the thing which is very interesting is that Instagram and Reels is definitely a copy of TikTok. There's no doubt about it. That TikTok had this great idea, and it took off, and they soon realized that they had to have an option like that. The benefit that Reels and Facebook, Instagram and Facebook have got is that you've got two powerful platforms there, where they're making it now very easy to create a reel in Instagram, then go a couple of clicks, share it to Facebook, share it to stories, share it to everywhere. So you're sort of getting double your money. It's pretty much a place you can share on all platforms. So they're really pushing it out with exposure when you put a reel on there, but also they're giving that ability to share it across all the platforms, which TikTok can't do. So it'd be interesting to see. And what sort of content do you think works best for that 60, 90-second video?
Yeah, so loads of research done on this. Now, a lot of agents stay away from it, saying, "Oh, I don't want to be doing, those silly trends and silly sort of dance." You don't. The two sort of best performing reels at the moment are property tours. So don't forget, with the Reel app, it gives you all the tools to cut, speed up, put text on. Once you've played around with it for a while, you get very used to it, and you can create some really good looking sort of quick tours of your properties. So when you take one on, when you sell it, and perhaps even what would buy you X amount, those sort of things, and you can then show someone what's been sold in your local area. The other ones, you can do a quick Q&As, because 90 seconds now is a perfect amount of time just to do a quick video of, hey, I've just got asked by a seller, should I be putting my property on the market now before finding a property? This is what I said. And then it's just enough to get people interested, and then perhaps, ask you a little bit more.
Or something as well, like you could do, like you've just come off the phone, speak to you off the landline, just spoken to the conveyancer, boom, 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 explain a 90-second property chat, or the importance of having all your admin ready to go, and this sort of stuff. So yeah, good educational stuff. Yeah,
it is. And do you know the nicest thing about Reels is that it doesn't have to be polished. It's a platform where people want to see the real you, and they want to the raw type of content is fine. But as I say, they do provide you with all the tools in the app just to make it that little, look better. The biggest tip I can give anyone who's hasn't used it before is just try it on your own personal account, play around with it. You soon pick it up, and to get real good exposure, look for those trending sounds. So music and sounds which you'll find on Reels that come up all the time. There'll be certain songs. They're the ones that you want to add to your video, because that will give a little bit push with the algorithm, so it'll push it a little bit further. And we're talking
no copyright issues with that, is there?
Not if you're using it in the app itself. So that's why I would do it all in the app, and then you know, you won't have those problems. But yes, so really, really powerful at the moment, and it's definitely something agents should be looking at. You know, we've gone away now from just the normal long 3-minute videos. You've got to be perhaps using those on your website and on YouTube, but on social media now it is that shorter form, mobile style video as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm going to look into that myself as well. So remember you mentioning that a couple of weeks back to me. JP, or is that you? Is that you done, Paul, with what's?
Yeah, no, I hope that helps everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's just agents looking at their marketing and looking at the complete marketing mix, and rather than being a little bit too pig-headed about I can only use Facebook or Google. Letters don't work. I've only got to use a bit of software that revolutionizes the business and all other stuff like that. It is a blend. It is a mix of marketing. And just because it's never worked for you in the past doesn't mean it can't work for you in the future. Letters and everything works. It's just a case of, do you get it? You know, have you wrote the letters in such a way? I always use the example of, we were sending out letters for acquisitions, weren't getting many bites, and then Jerry reworded a couple of them for us, and then we got 2 or 3 off the belt. So I know that letters work, and I've been using for a number of years, so I knew it was just to stick with it. But I knew the way I'd worded it, and you know, after a couple of good conversations with Jezza, he sort of said, "Have you tried this? Have you tried that? Do this," and straight away we got a couple of bites. Now the cynic in you might say it was a coincidence, but I think not. Definitely not. So I think now, and Chris Watkin actually said something really good, and he said cutting your marketing in times of economic uncertainty is a bit like heading your life raft into a storm and then taking off your life jacket. It's mental. Yeah. You know, you need to be ramping up. It's a really good analogy. I like that. You need to really be ramping it up at the minute, and just trying things, but more importantly, measuring it. I've had 4 coaching calls today, and I think on 3 of them, in fact, I think all 4 of them were talking about lead sources, and we're talking about, you know, a couple of the guys had, you know, Facebook, Proval, Valpal, Google, and that was it. And I says, great, where's your website in there? And you need to have 3 landing pages. So you need, you know, I use Valpal, so we'll just talk Valpal. Valpal website, Valpal Google, Valpal Facebook. So when they all come in, you know specifically how many for each one. A lot of people just have one, Valpal, and it comes in, but they use marketing methods of Google. They use Paul or people for Google, and they've got the website. They have no idea which one is bringing them the most leads or the best leads. And if you can't measure it, then you can't use the conversions to find out your cost per lead, but also cost per sale and average cost per sale or whatever. So it's massively important to be measuring everything. So whatever marketing you're using, whatever you think's great, works great, fantastic, but you've got to be able to measure it.
You know, that's interesting about, you know, you said about the lead sources, because Paul done a campaign for me on the guides that I do, and it went really well, isn't it, Paul? It's done really well. Yeah. You know what? And this is something I bet you some estate agents got wrong the same way that I did. I did a plan for follow-up to leads. I just thought, I get the leads and I send them an email. And now I'm thinking, well, I've got to send them something else. So I hadn't thought through, and that was my own fault. I'm not blaming anyone. I hadn't thought through the follow-up. And I think that's so common in all aspects of business, where people sort of mess up the follow-up part. So they get the attention, but sort of quickly lose it because they haven't really put in the thought work about following up. So, that's it's interesting. But I am working on that, Paul.
Good.
It was only after about 2 weeks I realised, I thought, this is getting loads of leads, but I'm not... I'm missing a trick somewhere. I'm not 100% sure what I need to do, but I think we'll do it. I think we'll do it somehow. So So I guess is it me?
Yeah. What about you, Jerry? What's been happening in your world of content, and what have you seen?
Right, I had a really good chat last week with Rob Brady from Lifecycle, and he was just showing me some of the stuff people are doing with our guides and just specific content. And it was something I said off air, you know, there's something called well, we call it the Pangea approach to marketing, where all your marketing is sort of joined up, because Pangea was the supercontinent where the landmass of Earth was all joined up. That's where the name comes from. So hence the joined up aspect of it. So one of the things I think agents get wrong, or they don't do at all, or they don't understand it at all, and it's no, it's not a diss on them, because not a lot of people do. So it's quite an emerging thing. It's called core content. Now, core content for estate agents would be something like, you have a blog about selling due to, I don't know, what's the most common reason for selling? You tell me, you're the estate agent.
Probably to upsize.
Right. So you're selling due to upsize. It's a nice one. I like that one. Thank you. Right. So you have a blog selling due to upsize. And Rob was showing me this thing that he can do with his stuff. And he, you know, I'd imagine other systems can do it. So it's not a plug for anyone, but it's just an observation. So the upsizing blog gets their attention. So like they're upsizing, but then you hit them up with an upsizing guide. And then if that doesn't sort of work, so they've got the guide as well. So they've got 2 bits of good content from you, but then you hit them up with something else to do with upsizing, you know, another time. So what you're doing there with that core content is your, you know, like when you talk about hyper local, well, this is like hyper targeted. So you're not looking at just sellers anymore. You're looking at upsizing sellers. Same with downsizing sellers. Same with, you name it, you can put them into this core content journey. And it's the same with like social media posts. If you were to do a post about, if you had guides of some sort, I don't know, guide to downsizing, let's go the opposite way. A guide to downsizing, you put it out on social media, somebody signs up for it. And then you're thinking, a bit like me, I haven't followed them up. But then you've got a blog to follow them up about downsizing. And then you've got a downsizer in your reviews. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, they were downsized. So do you see what I mean? It's a really well thought out process. A lot of work, like Rob was showing me, and the ones that are doing it, someone speaks like Andrew Sharp of Shaw Property Group in Burton. You can tell he's an engineer by sort of background, because he's got structure, you know, like a real structure to do this. And he's getting great results. So it does work. So yeah, core content is emerging. It's still evolving. And this is the point, like you were saying there, JP, some agents are sort of too wedded to one way of doing it. But the truth is everything is evolving. It's like reels. You said, like Paul, it's changing all the time. And this core content and this content marketing linked to core content is evolving all the time. But I think the key takeaway there is you can't treat sellers the same anymore. You can't treat, and probably even buyers as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, one thing you've got to look at is we've got to stop thinking like estate agents and start thinking like our customer and our client. And if we think that every single one of our customers, even in today's day and age, communicate via email only, then we're mental. If we think that every single one of our customers is just scrolling through Facebook on a daily basis, or Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, then we're nuts. You know, there's something to be said for print marketing, got the thud factor. So the handwritten letters, the 2020s, the off market, the on market print digital stuff, print stuff, as well as the digital stuff. And I don't know, there's not that many agents doing both really well. There's some that do one fantastic. There's others that say, oh, I'm not, because there's a finite end to every single bit of marketing. Just like if you've got a letting agent in a town, you will hit a ceiling of approximately the amount of houses you will ever manage. If you've got a ceiling, you will have a ceiling of an estate agent in a reasonably sized town of the amount of properties you will sell on average. It might be 12, it might be 20, it could be 30, but you won't break 100. And then you'll say, well, why not? There's 200 houses get sold every month. Why don't we? Because there's a finite amount. And I'm forgetting what they call it. There's actually like a sort of a mathematical law ratio, whatever we want to call about it. Now, if you're hitting the clients that only are digital, it's even smaller, because there's only a certain proportion of those clients. It might be the majority, it might be 80%, but you'll never hit that 20%. So that's why we've got to try and have that marketing mix. And also, if anything, if Facebook changed their algorithm, or Paul Long, who literally does about 2/3 of every single estate agent on the planet, says, do you know what? I'm going to be a florist. I hate Facebook. Zuckerberg's pissed us off. I'm off. There's estate agents jumping off viaducts and cliffs everywhere. But then we're knackered. Then we've got to start again with our marketing. So that's why you've got the print, you've got Google, you've got community networking. See what I did there with that segue, Jezza? Like that one?
Oh,
Commute.
That's called a link.
A link. And you've got the digital. And I generally think those agents that aren't doing a little bit of everything, you're going to have Facebook's your main one, Google's your second, YouTube's your third, TikTok's your fourth, print's your 550th. But if you don't have them all in there, you're missing out. You really are.
Or you look at it like this and you think to yourself, we're going to be the number one at print.
Yeah.
So you go the other way. I get what you're saying, and you must have a mix. I totally agree with that as well. But you say we're going to be the dominant force on Facebook, for example. So you put a lot of your resources into that, or think we're going to produce a monthly 12-page newsletter, deliver it to 6,000 homes in the local area, and we're going to do that for a year. And I bet you we get some results from it. Because I funnily enough, I worked with an agency back in 2018 who did that and got great results from it. Great results. So yeah, no, that's all good. So now we're talking about trending topics. So all three of us have got our different sort of Facebook groups, and it's quite a good barometer of what's happening in the agency world to see what's getting agents' backs up or getting them excited. So what do you want to sort of kick off with? What's been trending in your group, Paul?
Yeah. Quite a few things going on, but one which was really interesting, which agents might be interested to know about, was we had a post in our group, which was what was an underrated lead source that you have got listings from this year so far. And I thought it was really interesting to see that actually some of the ones which were mentioned weren't what we probably all thought. One of them, which was on there, which actually was a bit of a surprise, but I know we've all got opinions about the portals, was that Booming had quite a few responses about seller leads. So buyer leads pretty much was a no, but seller leads, there was quite a few people who said that they've had some good leads from that platform. And I know there's different opinions on the portals at the moment, but that was really interesting. So the algorithm obviously on that site is definitely doing a better job maybe than some of the other portals for sellers. And then the other ones were, and that was, so Jamie Skinner, James Brock were the ones who mentioned about Booming. And then MovePal and the online valuation tools, ValPal got mentions by Michelle Gallagher and Jane Gardner. And the one that was interesting was a couple of people mentioned GP surgeries. So
why? How are they getting stuff from there?
That's what I don't know, but it just shows that there are local, and you're probably better to talk about this, but there's definitely things that can be tapped into that we often forget.
Well, I know that Nick Cheshire, Nest in Essex, he drops off, I think it's Nick, it's one of the members, and they drop off guides and printed material at places like dentists. You know, like, you think you're sitting there, you're bored, you're flicking through. You know, it's either that or a 5-year-old copy of Women's Own or something like that. So you pick that up. Do you know what I mean? So, interesting. And again, it goes into JP's point about have a mix. So think, again, to go back to that Pangea approach of getting it all joined up with the central part of it being getting people to pick up the phone and contact you. So yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting. So, I mean, trending in my group. So I listened to an industry podcast recently, and they said, I think it was in response to one of my posts, actually. I don't think I know. And they said there needs, when it comes to community stuff, there needs to be commerciality linked to it. I totally disagree. I've got to be honest. I just got to be honest. And I posted something in my group sort of saying, well, I don't agree. It's their opinion. They're entitled to their opinion. And it was interesting, the responses that we got back from some of our guys, because it was like James Kendall made a really good point. He said he agreed, but he said we shouldn't feel embarrassed. I agree with this. We shouldn't feel embarrassed about doing something for the community, knowing that we'll get a little bit of publicity. You know, as agents, if you do the school phase, sponsor the local football team, that sort of stuff. So you should do it and not be embarrassed. But I do think the best agents that I've ever worked with just do it for their community. It's a bit like we talked about yesterday, JP, when you said you go to your office manager, says that you give them a certain amount of money and basically say, go and sponsor something, go and do something for the community. It's like, if you're trying to track everything linked to community giving, it's a bit like, it's an impossible question in many ways, because it's like, how do you measure a kid's joy on Christmas morning? Do you know what I mean? It's intangible.
Yeah.
So,
It's like you said, yeah.
That was interesting. People's responses about that.
Yeah, not all value can be seen on an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I think you can get commercial out of it. You can be commercial, but it's got to be it's got to be a secondary thing. The main driver of doing something for charity has to be for the good of the person that you're doing it for, the charity. So what we do is, because we've got multiple brands, multiple branches, is everybody gets 500 quid at budget time. Then we tell them to go sponsor a team, a local team. And it's got to be within Seaham or Hartlepool or Bishop Auckland or wherever it is. So they do that. We also say to them, you've also got to sponsor a charity. Now, the charity doesn't get money off us, but they get your time. Now, the reason that's more important is it's not just there's 200 quid, see you later, never to be heard of again. Like one of our girls, it's our Bishop Auckland manager, Jodie. She's absolutely brilliant. Unfortunately, she lost her dad last year. And, I don't think she'd mind us saying she was really close to her dad and hit her quite hard. But there's a really good charity in the local area, just a couple of miles down the road. And it's a guy, he'd lost a family member a couple of years ago. And he does all sorts. I literally think he did run the London Marathon with a fridge on his back or something ridiculous. And he does white collar boxing, even though he's not a fighter, just a charity. And he gets his face panned in. Jodie got in touch with them, and now they're doing videos on our Facebook page. So we say to them, you get 500 quid, sponsor a kids football team. Got to be a kids. Got to be for the local community and the charity, but you have to give up your time. So you've got to be passionate. If you're not passionate, you won't do it. Yeah. You won't do the fetes on a weekend, or you won't do the evening bake sales or whatever. So and I find that our better branches sponsor something to do with their kids, which I'm fine about if the kids play for local. Great. So, Petley under 11s get 500 quid, fine. But they also go and they'll go to the food bank, or they'll go housing the homeless or something like that.
And in fairness to this podcast that I was just listening to, they raised the point about time as well, which I agreed with. It was one of the things I did agree with the podcast. But what you're saying there as well, about the sponsoring the football teams, that's some people say, well, what's the point of that? It's just a logo. But when it comes to a decision, like if everything being equal, and they've got free agents around, they go, yeah, they're all seeing the same. But, did you know that Carstone, they sponsored little Jimmy's football team as well? Yeah. Okay. Obviously, you have to be a good agent, but I think things like that, they will help. They will help, definitely. And then I think the best example, and I always quote this, location. We've all heard of them, yeah? Very good agency. Would we agree on this?
Very good agency, yeah.
They're levels, do you know what I mean? They did a thing called Seeds of Kindness, where they gave out seeds in their local area. And then Vicky was telling me this, Vicky Barberis, I hope I pronounced that right.
You said Vicky right. You said the name Vicky right.
Yeah. I can't talk properly at the best of times, you know what I mean? But what they then were getting people from outside the area saying, I've heard about these seeds, and can we be sent any? Yeah. And they had this internal chat inside location. They just went, send them. There's nothing to gain from that. They ain't going to get that house. I think one of them was as far away as Wales or something. So, it must have been a social media post that they've been contacted by this person. They're not going to get a valuation off the back of that. But there's something intangible about doing something like that. And it speaks volumes about the culture of a company that's willing to go, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's just go like that. We will get a little bit of publicity. We're never going to get a little bit of publicity, but let's just do it for the right reasons. Let's do it from the heart and see where it goes. But that was an interesting topic in our group.
You do it for the right reasons. There's nothing wrong if you get something off the back of it. I think I was telling you the tip yesterday that if you've got multiple branches under one Facebook brand, what we say to ours, so we've got 4 under the castle thing. We say to one of them, you've got to sponsor a cricket team. You have to. Yeah, the reason for that is it's a summer sport. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's only pretty much me and one other person in the entire company, 50-odd staff that like cricket. Everybody else is football. So we say, the other 3, you decide who, because every single town's got a good cricket team. The other 3 sponsor football, cricket, we're not bothered. But because now we've got stuff 365 to start posting about. So,
Would you, because remember I said yesterday, would you be, if there was a local running club, because running's are all year round sport, cycling might drop off a bit January, February, but would you be open to if one of your team come and said, you know what, JP, there's a big cycling club, it's got 100 members, looking for a name on the back of their jerseys to
Yeah, be open to it. I mean, running, the only time the run up here is either to Greg's or away from the place.
Paul, Paul, I'm glad we didn't say that. We're like racist or what? Regionalist. We'd be called regionalists.
Or when they hear that ice cream truck, ding, 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 ding.
At this point, because we've got this newfound professionalism, I'd like to announce a trigger warning. If anyone feels triggered hearing what JP just said about Northern people, just ring him, not us. Me and Paul just soft Southerners. We don't know nothing. But JP, you've got a big, active, really active group. What's been making the people stand up?
I've actually changed it. So I was going to talk about a couple of things, but the one I want to chat about is James Drury came up with something, and he said for somebody that wants to do the first hire, what is the first thing you should push into them? Like, how, why do people put off the first hire type of thing? And there were some really, really good things. So we spoke about training development. We spoke about, giving them goals and targets and nurturing them and all that sort of cool stuff. And Alex Knight, who's a good agent, came up and said he disc profiles all new starters. So to find out the personality type, which is a good idea. Now, I believe in disc profiling, but and Alex is dead right to do it. I'm not disputing that. I think, and I've seen a lot of agents sometimes put far too much emphasis on what the disc profile is. Now, basically, a disc profile effectively is just a list of questions and it spews out an answer. And I know it's a bit more scientific than that, but what happens if you know yourself, you could get asked 20 questions and you could ask it differently on a Monday to you do on a Friday. So it's not the best way. And if you think also there's pressure on them and sometimes they might answer it how they feel as though the owner wants them to answer it. So I think it's a good idea. What I would do for that is I would do it for current staff. And we have done in the past for current staff. We did it years and years ago where I had a girl who was managing my portfolio of properties. And she used to come in, she was lovely. Julie used to say, so do you have a good weekend? What have you done? How are the kids? How's that? And I was like, Julia, what do you want? Like, how can I help? Your boiler's broken down. Right, great. So when we did the disc profile and I came out what I came out with, which was like off the record D. And
what's D? Just explain it to me.
So I can't remember what it stands for. D is basically direct.
Right. Okay.
So you know what you want, like a straight to the point. So there's pluses what you can come across, but there's also negatives. So one of the negatives that I come across is sometimes it might feel as though I'm disinterested in what you're saying. I mean, with you a lot, Jerry, but like I'm quite disinterested in what you've got to say, but I'm not. I've just got what I needed, and I'm on to the second subject.
Yeah.
You tell us something in the first 30 seconds, I've got it. I don't need the fluff. So I'm direct. I get straight to the point. But the reason why it's good to know that is because that's how I like to be communicated with. Yeah. So when we explained this to Julia, and Julia, apparently Adele had just said you could just see, ding, the light bulb came on. So now she went back and she went, right, 28 Thomas needs a new boiler, 46 Ascot needs this, 27 Stafford, boom. How was your weekend? And then, great, fine, thanks. And then you could have a bit of chat. There's the Chrissy Watkin talks about it a lot, where I believe he says a lot of letting agents are like a C. What's C? I can't remember, but it's very sort of processy. Going like quite introvert, and he's very good at that sort of stuff. So once you understand how to communicate, and the reason Alex probably does it is so when he gets a new starter, he wants to make sure, like for a salesman, you don't want somebody to be a C or whatever it is, where you're like, oh, there's it, look him in the eye. You want someone to go, right, this is what I'm going to do for you, 2%, and quite car salesman, I suppose. Yeah. So that was a good one. There was lots of people came back and helped and said, right, this is what you need to concentrate on. And I tell you what, between the groups, man, you get a lot of discussion, some really, really good discussions.
You get some really good ideas and some absolute shite. To be honest, I think they're good. We know that the people that are doing the good stuff and coming out with the good ideas, they tend to be quite successful agents. Yeah. But I think there's that phrase, isn't it? The trouble with the internet is that idiots have the same airtime as people that are experts.
But and this is not
being harsh, which was harsh there.
No, you're absolutely right. I quite like the fact that the various groups have already got their identity. So, you've got certain groups where literally, what's in between section 21 and section 8. Like, that's a very basic group for basic letting agents, but that's fine. That is absolutely fine. It's a bit like having nightclubs and stuff. You've got your string fellows, and then you've got the bongo club at the other end where, you wipe your feet on the way out. And, you've got like a Witherspoons and everything in between. And I'm not saying one's worse than the other because they all make the same amount. They've all got the different people, and just people hang out with different things. But, I'd like to think mine's a certain way, Paul's a certain way, yours is. You've got Sally's, you've got Chris's. Trying to think who else. There's some of the ones that are, the letting agency owner circle one. Then you've got the state.
Sam Hunter's
Sam's got a good group.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. The only thing with those personality tests, I'd be scared I'd fail. Like there was some sort of, do you know what I mean? I'd just get anxious about it. But
you can't fail, Jerry. You can't fail.
Well, yeah. Paul, so you're going to lead off on our new segment, which is called Mad, Sad. Was it Mad, Sad and Glad?
Mad, Sad and Glad. Yeah.
Right. Paul, what's making you mad this month?
Google reviews. Google reviews. So, it's funny. We were both having a chat before we came online about them. But in a nutshell, we push like everyone else Google reviews. We've got incentives for our staff. We've got targets. We've got training. We've got systems to make it easy for people to reply with reviews. And we're all doing very well. They were going through the roof, and then they just started slowing right down. And I haven't been as unlucky as you, Joe, which you'll explain in a second. But and I started pretty much moaning at everyone in the company, saying, "What's going on with these reviews? You've got that many before." And after speaking to you, Jerry, and a few other people, we see that there seems to be quite a big problem with Google at the moment with reviews.
When did you get the problem, Paul? When did you start noticing the slowdown? And I'll tell you what we did.
Yeah, I'd say over the last couple of months.
Right. Okay.
Yours earlier than that.
Ours has been, about a good year.
Has it? Yeah.
A good problem, like a good year with Google reviews. So this is my understanding of the problems was we had originally, and I know some other agents have lost reviews just out of nowhere. So we had 178 5-star reviews at one point. Then it went down to 172. So I've gone back to Google and said, well, what's happening? Do you know what I mean? They give you this computer says no type spiel. Then I spoke with a woman who does a lot of social media, not for estate agents, but other groups. And she sort of explained that during lockdown, they got rid of a lot of people in India, because the physical people who would check, and now it's all algorithm based. This is what she's telling me. Yeah. So the algorithm goes through things and it just doesn't know the difference between a real review, a kosher review and a fake one. So we've gone from 178 to 172 to 162. And as I told, no, but listen, this gets worse. And like if you don't laugh, you cry. 2 weeks ago or last week, maybe early last week, overnight, it went from 162. You ask Amanda, my VA works closely with me, yeah? It went from 162 down to 144. Like that. It was like Kaiser Soze. It was there and it was gone. Do you know what I mean? But I think this is a big issue. I think this is it's almost like the big thing that we're talking about today. If there is this ongoing problem, and I know myself that somebody left a review for us today that hasn't shown up. They've told me they have. Do you know what I mean? I trust them. They're a regular client. So estate agents who are getting issues with their reviews might not be, like I'm saying to you, Paul, it might not be your staff at all.
I think that's right. I think there's a few there. I think there's also obviously you've got to provide that great service, and that's what we aim for. But I think there's also that thing now that it's every single business is now asking for a review, but also for a survey on their processes, and it's very easy to sort of get those out now, where before it was quite hard or it was quite specialist. So I think that's a bit to play with it as well. I think which is good, people want to raise their standards, but it does seem every time I speak to anyone now at the end, it's we fill in a survey, we give me a review. So maybe that's the issues as well.
We've had problems as well, it's like it gets brought up every managers meeting. So we have a daft little slide where it says Google Police, and then we talk about this is what it is and this is where you need to be. And our Northallerton brand, which it's took me 4 months to get control of the Google page, the Google My Business. So bad. It should literally be, we went on it and we said, we've just bought the business because it says, what are you now? New owner, all that sort of jazz. So we did it all right. It says, all right, well, we're going to send you the card in the post. Print, funny enough, Google uses print. Postcard, Moses said it doesn't work. So we waited, nothing. I asked for it 4 times over a period of a month. It didn't arrive. So we went back, made a complaint, didn't even respond. A couple more complaints, didn't respond. And then just out of the blue, I just got an email, said, you've now got access to it.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. And I think the serious problem is, if you can't rely on Google reviews, fair enough. Somebody said to me, well, you just got to keep churning. You might lose them. You might, where we think we might have lost the chunk was we sent out an email to all our clients at once. That could have been it. But we don't know for sure because Google's not telling us anything. And like your experience, JP, we've had 0 communications. When it originally happened, they sent me the same email twice to different questions. It was the same email. It was obviously a copy paste bang. Even if it was a copy and paste. But what can agents do? Do you know what I mean? What can agents do if they can't rely on Google reviews to provide authenticity?
You've just got to do it, because from all the reading I've done and talked to Paul and people who's more on the Google, that it's all part of a big jigsaw that, you get more bang for your buck from your ads if you got good Google reviews. You get more bang for your buck if you got Google reviews and blogs, because Google now on YouTube, they recognize that as well. If you start linking from Facebook to YouTube, Google don't like that, vice versa, because they're arch evil nemesis, isn't it? It's like Superman and Lex Luthor, Facebook and Google. So you go native on Facebook and you leave everything in there, and you do the same with YouTube and Google, and you've just got to keep plugging away. And I don't think anyone's got, because the algorithm changes so quickly, doesn't it, Paul, for Facebook as well?
Yeah,
you've just got to keep plugging away. There's no one's got the holy grail.
You can't guess what's happening. Like you say, it just changes too often, and they'll change it again soon. But it is very frustrating, and it's the same on Facebook as well as Google. The algorithm always making mistakes. You'll never. Well, I hope not. You'll never be able to beat a real person. I think there's always going to be mistakes.
Yeah. So my what's making me mad is the same as what's making Paul mad. What's making you mad, bad, or glad, or sad? There's 4 now. You've got 4 bits. I don't know where
I mean, I spoke a bit about it before, but just people saying that's the way it's always done. I'm a big believer in evolution, just evolving your business constantly. I know me and you, Jerry, talk about your business all the time, and you're evolving it, come up with amazing ideas and products and services, and we do in our business. And we're acquiring businesses, brought the Fine & Country on board. We're always doing that. But then you see other businesses, and I feel I'm mad and sad at the same time, because I think the ones who don't evolve, unfortunately, going to be the ones that fall by the wayside. There was a business up here, Foster Madison, up in Hexham, and they went bust. They went into liquidation.
How long were they around for?
I think quite a while. But they were like a reincarnation of a previous business. So, but I think 30, 40 years.
Wow.
One of our guys knows the manager of our Hexham, because they're in the same. I mean, I'm sad about this, and they're our competitor. So they were in the same town as was one of our branches, and one of our guys knows theirs guys, the son of the owner, and he said literally, I might get the figures slightly wrong, but it's not too far. 50% of the pipeline fell down in about a month. Like 50%, just literally boom, and they didn't have time to put it on, and they worked out, even if we sell it tomorrow, the cash flow is going to, and they just shut the doors. Just shut the door. It was in Property Industry Eye just last week or the week before. Last week, I think it was. And you're seeing them. I mean, we're buying a nice little business at the minute, and then they're not in any financial trouble or anything. It's just one of the reasons was she's just not getting the buzz out of it anymore. Just decided that's it. I'm working really hard for not a lot, and it's not what it used to be, and it's getting difficult. But I just see more agents going by the wayside, which is sad. But unfortunately, they've got to adapt. They've got to was it evolve or die?
Yeah. This is fascinating about the evolution, because like we were talking yesterday again about sport and what we can learn from business and sport and this sort of stuff. Alex Ferguson was often seen as this shout, a hairdryer approach, blah blah blah. Great man, motivator, player motivator. Very first person to employ a sleep expert.
Really?
Yep. So people forget, you know, like these people that are the elite, they're always
Yeah.
coming up with something, always thinking, well, how do we get that little 1%? How do we make that part of the business better? But it's frustrating as well, because you know, it is frustrating. But no, that's good. So we've been talking for 50 minutes. And I think yesterday we said we'd be speaking for 51, didn't we?
Did we?
Oh, look, there he goes. So me and Paul being all professional, Paul, I'm not just going to jump off and leave it, because we're entering a new age of professionalism.
I knew that was coming. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll catch up with you again very soon. Thanks everyone.